So first of all, thank you so much for sticking up until 6 p.m. And I promise you don't have to use your brain in this talk. There is literally zero code in this talk, unless my slides stop working and I need to open the Markdown file. So we should be OK, right? Probably. Probably not. So thank you so much for having me. And I want to start with a sidetrack of what I'm actually going to talk about, even though the sidetrack is actually more serious than the actual talk. But let's start with that. So this conference actually started with Isa talking about her love story with MPJ. And I think it's fitting that it also ends with one. So actually, I got married 2 days ago in Copenhagen. I really did not want to cancel this conference. So I took the train from Copenhagen. And yeah, and I want to say that I think my wife deserves a round of applause just for the fact that she chose to marry me. Like, she had a choice. And she, like, said yes. And if you think that I'm exaggerating, I want to let you know that I'm from Portugal. And so in Portugal, I think it's one of the only countries that I've ever heard of this. To get, like, a Portuguese citizenship, you don't actually need to live in Portugal. You only need to marry one of us. I think there's just, like, you go there and you're like, I marry one of you, and they're like, oh, shit, I'm so sorry. Here's the EU passport. And I want to say that it's always been one of my dreams to speak at this conference, and it's always been one of my wife's dreams to actually attend this conference. So I want to thank Nordic.js, because honestly, this is the best, like, nerd honeymoon that I've ever had. This is also my first wedding, so I don't know. So yeah, I wanted to start with that. Seemed fitting for the conference that it is. And now to the serious part of this talk. So I am going to talk about building dumb shit. And first, I want to ask a couple of questions to the audience. How many of you work in startups or products? OK, cool. I can't see that side, or that side, but that's cool. Thank you, you too. I can see you too. And how many of these think they're going to change the world? Now, you think they're going to change the world, but the company believes they think they're going to change the world. Yeah. So this is like when you, like, go to study and they tell you to mark the important parts and you mark everything. My name's Sara, and I am a developer. I'm mostly a front-end developer. I work with Node and JavaScript and CSS. And I'm a maker. Like, I'm not sure what this means, but I've had shit on Product Hunt, and I'm pretty sure that's what it means. Not sure. And, like, as a human being, as you can see by my outfit, I am an utter and complete fucking idiot. I also curse a lot. Well, let me start this from the start. I am also an utter and complete fucking idiot. This is the photo I sent to Nordic.js. Like, this is my speaker photo. This was in Kiev. The guy was really nice. There was a man behind the mask. Yeah, I'm just a really, like, a huge idiot. Like, I do this on purpose so that people don't take me seriously, because I don't want to be taken, like, too seriously, because that's not who I am. I have a website with just meme pictures of myself. I don't know why. I'm like the opposite of the guy from How I Met Your Mother, where you can only look good. I can literally only look bad in photos. And if you think this is a lie, this is the meme website. Like, it's real. Why am I holding a Sweden flag? It's when you lost to England. I'm so sorry. I'm a part of a JavaScript comedy club. This doesn't even connect, but it's real. It's called Use Smoosh, and it exists, and I'm in it. That's it. And as a very like, you're probably taking me very seriously right now, I'm here to convince you to build dumb shit. And I want to start with the words of a friend of mine called Charlie, which is probably dead asleep right now in Australia, in which she said, JS for you, so you know it's real, that useless is not worthless. That sometimes we believe that if you make something useless, it's completely worthless, which is not true. These are two completely different things, and I want to show you just how different they are. So I started on a quest, very deep, and I started to think to myself, like, why do we actually build things? Like, what drives us inside to build things? Like, why do we like this kind of stuff? Why do we hate ourselves? I don't know. So I think the first reason that I thought of was because they will change the world. There is a lot of companies and a lot of people that build things because those things will change the world. The second one is because they'll make us rich. Like, just be real about that one. We all like money. And the third one is usually like because they will help us learn. There's a lot of stuff that I built just to like learn a framework or a tool or a language, whatever it was. So I want to start with the first one, because they will change the world. So I want to ask a very serious question. Is that even a good thing? Because you very rarely see a company that says, I want to make the world a better place. You see companies saying, I want to change the world, like the planet Earth must be changed. Is that even a good thing? And I'm going to give you 3 examples of those types of stuff. So the first one is Uber. So Uber completely changed the world. Like, honestly, it's basically a household name. Like, even if you're getting a Cabify or whatever you're getting, like, you're getting an Uber. Even if that's not the app you open, like, you're literally getting an Uber. It doesn't matter. And it completely changed, like, how you do transportation in the real world. But the real question is, did Uber make the world a better place? Who thinks Uber made the world a better place? Exactly. But actually, I think it kind of depends on who you ask. Like, if you ask someone with a little amount of feelings and little ability to speak to any person who drives an Uber car, then yes, it's fucking great. It takes me to Heathrow. I don't know, I assume all these people fly out of Heathrow. None of them go to Luton, that's for sure. But if you ask the Uber driver who gets like half of his wage because he can't drive a taxi anymore, or you ask and gets 30% of his paycheck cut by a fucking app, then maybe it did not make the world a better place. Airbnb, I feel like Uber is the one where you're like, evil. Airbnb, you're just like, it's such a nice logo. It's, yeah, let's not talk about that logo. So Airbnb, the question is, did Airbnb make the world a better place? And again, I'm pretty sure that depends on who you ask. I think in general, people will tell you that it allows for easier traveling and it allows for a lot of like commodities, and it really doesn't hurt people that much. Like, it helps communities and people like get self-sustained. And so I think a lot of people will say yes. But for example, and these are 2 cases that I'm very like familiar with. In Berlin, about 80% of the houses in Kreuzberg are Airbnbs. So you literally cannot live in Kreuzberg, like, unless you want to like rent an Airbnb for the rest of your life, which sounds like a terrible idea. Don't do that. Maybe that's how I live. Doesn't matter. So, and also, for example, in Portugal, where I'm from, there is not a lot of laws about renting Airbnbs, but there is a lot of laws about renting houses, which means you'll pay a lot of taxes to rent a house to another human being, which means you won't pay any fucking taxes to rent an Airbnb. So there are kids in Porto and in several cities like basically living on the street because they can't afford to get a house, because everything is more expensive, because everyone just wants to save money. So again, it depends on who you ask. IKEA, yeah. So IKEA I don't know how to go anywhere else. Like, honestly, I just don't. I don't know where to buy other things. I don't know any other stores that sell furniture anymore. The question is, did IKEA make the world a better place? Fuck yes. And you may think I'm saying this because I'm in Sweden, but you don't understand my passion for IKEA. Like, it's honestly like someone here was Swedish and they were like, it's not like it's a religion. I was like, no, it's a religion to me. Like, I don't care. Like, I got a shark order from IKEA, which we apparently called a gay JavaScript shark. And so we got this shark order, and a friend of mine who was in my house took photos of me like opening the shark box. And here's photos of me opening the shark box. So yes, and then shark, and then me hugging the shark. IKEA is great. But what I want to point out is that changing the world doesn't always mean we make it better. The 2 things are not the same. And I want you to take a very close look when a company tells you they're changing the world, because that may not mean what you think it means. Not everyone has good intentions. So, and I want to say, like, you know what makes the world a better place? Making people smile. Like, doesn't matter if it's 1 or 10. If you made one person smile, that day is better. Their day is better. So you technically already made the world a better place. And you can do that by building dumb shit. Thank you for coming to my TED. No, I'm kidding. The second one, which I believe is also like very true, which is completely valid, like I was not a rich kid when I was a kid, is because they will make us rich. I'm incredibly sorry, but like I cannot help you in that one. Like, I'm not poor, but like I'm not, yeah, no. Like, I wouldn't be living in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment if I did. So let's go to the next one where I actually have slides for. And that's because they will help us learn. So what I mean by this is that you do things because you want to learn a tool, like, or a framework like Svelte, for example. And you learn, there have been actual studies about this, because there's studies about everything, that you learn better when you're making something you like. So if you make something that you like instead of a to-do app, you will most likely, learn better. So learn faster and actually retain the knowledge because you're happy. So I went on Code Sandbox, and I searched for to-do app. And I want to point out that Code Sandbox has been around for 2 years. That's it. And it has 54,096 results. And I think that's insane. And I tried to go on CodePen. This is not a marketing talk. They just didn't allow me to say how many results there were. Which, honestly, I would prefer to have used CodePen because it's been around for longer. So it's been like 1 million to-do apps. So, and I want to show you that and tell you that I've learned so much by making dumb things. Like, most of what I learned, except from the shit that I learned on YouTube when I was a kid, I mostly learned it from making really dumb shit. Like, everyone just stares at it and is like, that's stupid. And I'm like, I know. I'm aware of that. So one of the first things that I built was when I was in quote-unquote university. It's not real university. It's kind of this weird thing we have in Portugal for 2 years. But it started at 6 p.m. So as a grown-up, I woke up at 1 p.m., obviously. And there was a day when I was like particularly lazy. And I woke up and I was like, I wonder if it's raining outside. But I literally did not want to get out of bed. So I did the thing that every adult human being does. And I looked at my computer and I was like, I will not see if it's raining outside until I make a website that tells me if it's raining outside, which is the most useless thing ever. So I made a website that tells you if it's raining outside. So one of the first things that I built was this website that is it raining outside? That for some reason I used a .de at the time. This was before I moved to Germany. And it just literally tells you yes or no. That's the entire purpose of this website, is to not make you look out the window because you're a lazy ass person. That's it, that's all it does. Beautiful. Not really. So when I changed companies after a while, we had an important problem in CSS. And by what I mean, everything had an important on it. Like, it was an actual situation that completely got out of hand. So like the buttons.scss in the beginning like had importance on it. So you couldn't override the actual like starting of the buttons. And we were using PostCSS. So I wanted to learn how to make PostCSS plugins. And I also tried to find a way to fix this. So I made a tool called PostCSS Caralho, which is, like, I think only Portuguese or Brazilian people will understand what the fuck this means. There you go. So, to anyone else who doesn't speak Portuguese, so basically like 98% of the world, what I did is basically I changed every instance of important to a curse word in Portuguese and pushed it to master. And so if you wrote important, it actually didn't do anything. You had to write a curse word for it to actually do something. So when people pulled from master, everything had caralho on it, and they felt bad, and they started removing the importance. And honestly, 2 months afterward, we had 0 importance on the code. It was beautiful. You just gotta tie into the inner Christianity. That's what I'm saying. After a while, I started using Babel, so I did the exact same thing for Babel, and literally, like what it says here is because reasons. I have no reason to do this. Okay, so at a certain point, I wanted to learn Socket.io. And because I thought it was magic. And then I learned Socket.io, and it is magic. But yeah, so I wanted to learn a bit of Socket.io. So I made the most annoying thing that I could think of. And this is a thing called Magic Piano, .now.sh. So you may think this is a good idea, but wait. We copy this. I think it's still online. Yeah, it is online. So basically what you do is that you can play the piano. But the thing is, if you go on this website, which is magicpiano.now.sh, yeah, exactly. Everyone can play the piano, which seems like a beautiful thing until there's 30 people playing the goddamn piano. It's beautiful. It's chaos. I love it. Reminds me of home. Yeah. That's what I meant. So after a while, I realized that I didn't actually know how to play the piano, but I do know how to play drums. So you can go on magicdrums.now.sh, and it's literally the same thing, but with a drum kit, because who doesn't fucking want that? Isn't that cool? And now we wait for the internet to load. So we're waiting for that. Just let it happen. One day it will happen, and I can just continue. Okay. So there was a certain point where I was like, Chrome extensions sound like a really cool thing to build. And I was like, what is the most useless thing that I can make with a Chrome extension? So I made a thing called Burn It Down on like memory of Linkin Park. And basically what this does is that if a website has more than 2 trackers, either be Google Analytics, whatever it is, it basically makes an explosion on your website. and like completely like burns the website and you can't use it. And I want to say that the hardest thing about this wasn't learning the Chrome API, it was finding websites to test this shit on. I couldn't find websites that had less than 2 trackers. Like I had to use my own websites. It was very depressing. So one time I wanted to learn how to make a CLI. And I want to ask, has anyone who in here has watched a movie called Mother? Okay, cool. So I like it. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people like it. Like it's one of those movies that even if you like it, you will not recommend it to someone because people will be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's just a very weird movie. Just don't watch it, or watch it. I don't know. I can't recommend it, but I do like it. And there was a point where I went on the IMDb of Mother, and I found out there's no one who's like, that's okay movie, yeah, sure, whatever. It's either like, this is the biggest piece of garbage that I've ever seen in my life, or this man is God. There's like no in between, and it's beautiful. So I decided to make a CLI, which basically does lorem ipsum, but with like random reviews from this movie. Because they're amazing. And one of the latest, wow, English hard. One of the latest things that I decided to like learn was React hooks. Because, you know, I know React, and I'll be like, I'm not a real developer unless I do React hooks, right? Because you gotta get hooked. I don't know. So what I did was I obviously made Clippy a hook. So you can npm install use Clippy now, and it's actually basically Clippy, and you can just say use Clippy, and you have Clip. I don't know why you want this, but it works. I think most of these things are just like, I didn't think it through, and I was like, I can, so I will. And I think that sometimes, most of us, like not most of us, but a lot of us as developers take ourselves so seriously when we make buttons. And sometimes I just like really like to make fun of the world that we live in as developers. So one of the things that I made is called the NPM drinking game. Will it open? Yes, it will. So welcome to the NPM drinking game. The rules are simple. Write an English word in the input, and if it exists in NPM, you must drink. Good luck. And after the NPM shenanigans, I decided to put something that says not affiliated with NPM. Because I felt bad. I didn't want to, yeah. So, shout a word in English. One word. Sausage. Yeah, that's probably a thing. Oh, also, NPM as a profanity filter. How do I know that? It exists. And I want to show you like the one that I really like. So if you write tampon, we're in the area of menstruational privacy, okay? It's something that says when you need to control your flow. And this guy, I swear to God, if I liked men, I swear to God, I love him. So this will be forever online. It's at npmdrinkinggame.party, so have fun. There's also a CLI that a friend of mine made. And I made a website called Make Frontend Shit Again, which I can also open. So makefrontendshitagain.party. This is when I discovered that there were .party domains and they were 90 cents. I have so many domains. Is this working, the sound? Yeah, so it's playing like a techno, weird Titanic music in the background. And it's basically just this. I love this website. This is literally everything that the website is. And you may be wondering, why the fuck did you do this? So I went to a Reason conference. That's never a good thing. No, I'm kidding. So, but I don't actually do Reason. I went because a couple of my friends were organizing, and I wanted to learn Reason. So I was like, I'm going to go to their workshop because it's going to be fun. Turns out, after 2 hours, I couldn't install Reason on my computer. And I have like a completely normal MacBook, so I got so pissed that I made this. I was like, I remember FileZilla. Like, I could just drag shit. What the fuck, guys? What is this BS? Oh, the compiler for Reason is called BS. So, you get the idea. There's a lot more, but like, I only have shit. And I want to say that all these things that I did, even though they're completely useless, they made me a better developer because I learned how to use most of these technologies. They got me hired as a developer advocate, which is what I did before. So basically, I got hired to just keep doing these things and travel the world, and I still quit. But that made it sound really bad. But these things that I've learned actually helped me being hired as a developer advocate, because you got my work out there and stuff like that. Obviously, none of them changed the world. That would be really weird. And I've never made a single penny out of these websites. I've actually lost money. So none of them made me rich. But they did give me the skills to work on bigger things. I did gain the skills and skills. Things that I do believe make the world a better place, like Uber. No, I'm kidding. Things like Code Sandbox. So I want to be very straight here, like I can't be in my life. And I want to say that I don't think Code Sandbox is going to change the world. It's not. It's a code editor on the internet. But I do think it will help people. It will help you share your code, and it will help you learn faster. And if we can get one person into development faster, then we did our job. Then we made the world a better place. Deep. Things like teaching people. If I didn't learn these things, I would not be able to teach other humans the things that I've learned, because that's how teaching works. Things like speaking about mental health. I did a bunch of talks, and I'm very open about mental health problems. And honestly, I could only do this because I stopped being ashamed of my own personal self and put everything that I had on the internet. Until to a point where I was like, you know what, fuck it. Someone has to do it. There is so much value into building dumb shit. And I want to finish with one of the latest things that I made. And I want to point out that you actually never know the impact of the things that you make. I run a meetup called Queer.js. And it actually happened in Stockholm 2 days before, but I had to be in Denmark, wedding and shit. Valid. So I had the most valid excuse to not go. So I run this meetup, which started in Berlin a couple of months ago. And I made Queer.js because I wanted to do something fun. And for you to better understand this, like I said, I'm from Portugal, the Ronaldo country. That's where he's from. We won the Euro a couple of years ago. That was weird. Okay, I'm from Portugal, which at this exact moment is in the coolest battle ever to be the gayest country in the world. With Sweden and Canada, but let's be honest, just let Canada win. Everyone loves Canada. So basically, Portugal and Sweden are in the gayest battle ever. So I wasn't aware of how huge my privilege was, because that was my life. I got bullied in high school and stuff, but I was also tiny, stuttered, and fat, so I'm not sure it was the gay thing. To this day, I'm not sure. But I never really quite was aware of how huge my privilege is. Until I was about 16, I didn't know visas were a thing. Because literally, I could walk to Spain. It would take me 3 days, but I could do it. No one was stopping me from walking to Spain. Except my legs. But also, I just want to point out that the border between Portugal and Spain is actually for sale if you want that. So I wasn't aware of how huge my privilege was. And what happened was that the things that I did every time, for being very open about the fact that I was gay, I had laws in my country that would protect me if I suffered any type of injustice. We're one of the only countries that you're actually allowed to be to require asylum for being homosexual, for being queer, and which is actually kind of amazing. Honestly, I didn't know about any of this until 3 months ago. And I didn't know how big my privilege was. So the things that I saw as normal, other people saw as brave. Because sometimes, the things you do, you're so used to doing it because of the bubble that we live in, because of all the safety that we have in countries like Sweden, like Portugal, like Spain, basically all of EU, that we forget that that's not how life works outside of the EU. Some people need visas. So what I saw as a completely normal thing of me just getting some queer people to sit, I mean, you can sit if you want, I don't give a shit, to come on a stage, people saw as a safe space, which I never intended to create. I literally just wanted to make something fun where I called a bunch of my queer friends and made them stand on a stage and say things. Turns out people saw a safe space, and there were people who came out at these meetups, and I never intended this. I just wanted to make something fun. And that's the thing, you never know what the impact of the fun things that you make actually are. because not everyone has the protection that we have in our countries. Not everyone is as safe as we are, and sometimes we forget that. And now it is kind of my mission to make sure that Queer.js is an actual thing to create a safe space. It was always kind of my point, but it was never that defined. I just wanted to make something fun where I called all my queer friends. And I just want to say that sometimes the little things that you can do coming from a privileged space actually mean a lot to other people who don't come from places as privileged as yours. And I want to point out that even if that didn't happen anywhere else, even if that's stuck in Berlin, I made a bunch of humans smile. And there is so much value in anything that makes another human person smile, human person. And I want to finish by saying that if you want to make dumb things so you can learn, so you can get better at your job, so you can learn frameworks like Svelte, for example, so you can learn languages like Elixir if you want to work for Code Sandbox, for the love of God. Someone learn Elixir. Make dumb things so you can make the world a better place. Because we see it as this huge thing that it needs to be this big, beautiful app, but in reality, if you make something dumb, someone's going to have a terrible day, and it's going to be like, at least I'm not that dumb guy. And you're like, counts, don't give a shit. Someone is going to get happy about it, because at least it's stupid, and they'll smile. Thank you.